Hey, Scott here. Today I want to share a video with you of a trailer light upgrade. I found out this past January that one of my taillights was not working on the trailer. I found the broken wire and I decided this would be a good opportunity to update my trailer lights with some LEDs and a little protective box to protect it in the future. So stay tuned. Here we go. Alright, so for our trailer light upgrade, I picked up a pair of LED taillights. So we got the rear left and the rear right. On the back, it says right on here, white is the ground, brown is the tail, and the green is the stop and turn light. So this one has a license plate light if you are in a state where you need a license plate. Wisconsin is not. So we've got those. And now to protect them from well, what typically happens with trailer lights, so you hit something, or I picked up a little something extra here. Got these metal boxes. So the idea is that the light, this will be mounted on the trailer like this. I'm thinking with these lights we might have to drill another hole in the back to run the wiring out, but so they'll be mounted on the trailer like that, and they'll be protected all around. The one that's got the license plate light on the bottom, there's an opening here so that could be seen again if that's something you need. But that's our upgrade. So if you're interested in something like this, I got it off the internet and I'll show you here, from R&P Carriages. So check out their website. They didn't pay me anything for any advertising, but so far it looks like they got a good product, and I want to let them know that I appreciate it and maybe can send some business their way. Alright, so to clean this up, I'm just going to use some brake cleaner. Wipe down. There we go, feels pretty good. Most of it's evaporated off anyway, so we can get one done. I'll see about fire. Alright, so as I mentioned before, the wires on this light are in the middle, and these happen to come out just a little bit below the screws. And this bracket here, well, I think what I'll do is I'll drill a hole right there to allow these wires to come out. So I'll do that before I prime it. Alright, so I ended up drilling a hole in the back of each one of these. It couldn't be in the same position though, because these wires on this one came out of the back a little bit higher, where these wires came out a little low. Now this one, when I pull up on it, it sits flush, so that's going to be a good position. But this one has the big wad of let me take this off here and show you. The big wad of hot glue they use there, or sealant, is preventing this from sitting flush because it's hitting the inside of the metal here. So what I'm going to do is maybe just put a couple of washers there to take up the space, and it'll sit flat. So, but here's the thing, now that I have this set up, holes here, let's go to my trailer and show you what I have to do there. I got to drill some holes that as well. All right, so here's where the trailer light is actually mounted to, and you know, this is going to be mounted right there, and the slotted holes line up right. But for the wires, I'm going to have to drill the same hole in the trailer mount to do the same thing there. So the wires go through that right there. So we'll get to it. Alright, so just using a couple of 1/4 bolts and nuts, I kind of temporarily bolted the metal box on the trailer so that I could know where I'm going to be drilling that hole for the wires. So I'll keep that in place while I do the drilling. I'll start with a small drill bit and work my way up. Alright, I'm going to put the camera down while I finish this. Alright, started with a small drill bit, went to the next size, just a larger one, and eventually went to this one, just some random drill bit out of my box there. This one happened to be 27/64, so doesn't have to be any specific size, just got wires passing through it. So there's that one. Now we'll go on the other side, do the next one. Alright, so I've got the second side mounted and drilled out, and that light actually still works, so I just kind of didn't cut the wires yet, but I will, of course, when this gets done. Alright, so now I've got my holes drilled for the wires, and cleaned it up again using brake clean, get all that grease and oil that I put on for drilling, and I'm just going to use some gray metal primer here. I happen to have here some engine primer, but it's just because it's the only primer I have right now, and I need to use it up. So it says right on here that it prevents rust and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to paint this up. See if I can do this with one hand, or I should say one hand holding the wire and one hand holding the paint. I'm gonna have to get a better angle inside. Alright, I'm not concerned about drips and so on and so forth because it's just a trailer, and the winter salt is going to chew it up anyway later. So there's the first prime job, so just decided the other one. Alright, I'm not too concerned about drips and so on and so forth because this is just a trailer, and the winter salt is going to chew it up anyway later. So there's the first prime job. Set this aside, do the other one. Alright, as I kind of alluded to earlier, the gap in the back that is being a problem, I'm going to alleviate that problem. I went and got extra nuts here. These are M6 for this particular light fixture, because these are the nuts that came with it, and those will be the mounting nuts. But for spacers on the metal, I put each spacers on each one, just to have that extra little space. Alright, so the metal brackets here have been primed, and now we're going to hit them with a coat of black, gloss black, because that's what I have in stock. So, be right back. Alright, so we're about to put the contraption into place, and before I forget what those things say, we're going to remember that white is ground, brown is the tail light, and the yellow is the stop and turn light. Alright, and up here on this side we've got the brown and the yellow, and we got a black one for the ground, so the white and the black will meet. Alright, so let's get this put in place. Alright, so I'm just sort of holding it down there by the wires back here. I've got the nuts for spacers on the inside of the metal plate. we're going to use the nuts that came with the tail light to tighten this whole thing up. Alright, so we're going to put the nuts on the back of those bolts there, and as with anything made in China, it's 10 millimeter. So put the camera up here on the tripod and get this done. Alright, it's all in place, it's solid. So now it's just a matter of hooking up the wires. So we'll clean up these wires a little bit and get some connectors on there. Alright, so here we are with the lights all bolted in place. Now we're going to pay attention to the wiring. This is the wiring, clearly it's coming off the trailer. And I want to keep that as long as possible. I'm going to have to trim off the edges. The edges are a little bit crusty, but I don't want all this wire hanging out. So if I do trim any length off, it's going to be off the new wire, maybe about here or so. I want to keep the trailer wire as long as possible because, you know, as trailers go, you're always going to have to replace the lights sometime in the future. But I don't want to have to rewire this whole trailer. So let's trim this up. And then I have here, these are butt splice connectors, and what you do is you put your wires in here and crimp them together, and you apply some heat and it shrinks, so kind of keep them as waterproof as possible. Alright, I'll do this and we'll get back to you. So I've got the first of the wires connected. I stripped off a little bit of each one, and then I used this butt splice connector and a crimper here, crimped them on. Now I'm going to use heat to shrink this, and I also have a shrink wrap here, so put that on there. I just want to make it as waterproof as possible. So once I get this shrunk down, theoretically this should slip over, and then I'll heat that up too, and that'll shrink even more and seal all this up from the weather. Got a heat gun here. That's pretty good. Now let's see if I use the right size. Slip this over that. Oh, nice. Kind of center it as much as possible. And hit that with some heat. Alright, I think that's done. So we'll just do that to the rest of the wires and finish this taillight project. Another thing I want to mention, that I've been dipping all of these connections in dielectric grease. Now, contrary to what some people believe. Dielectric grease is not conductive, but what it does is it helps keep corrosion and rust and stuff off the connections. So just kind of, again, keep this stuff clean from road rash and whatever. We're gonna give everything a little thin coat of dielectric grease. Alright, so here we are. We've got all three of the wires butt spliced together and heat shrunk and sealed up. So this should be a working light. Probably just to prevent that from hanging, I might get a cable tie or something and kind of like tuck it up in there or something. But this light is pretty much done. Now I'll do the other side and it's a done deal. So, and over here on the passenger side, this light is a little different in that the white is still the ground. This time the brown is the tail light and the green is the stop and the turn signal. Again, that's passenger side, rear tail light here in America. Alright, so on the passenger side of the trailer here, there's no grounding wire. There wasn't any grounding wire on the original light, but there is a grounding wire on the new light. And so what I'm going to do is to put a ring terminal like this on that white wire, and I'm just going to attach that white wire back up to one of these mounting bolts, and that will ground it to the trailer. And to demonstrate, I'll take the white wire and touch it back there. I have the headlights on, and there we go. So that's all it needs, is to be grounded, and we've got a working light. So let's get that done. And there we go. The job is complete. We got new LED lights on the back of the trailer. This one was a really bad one, but now I'm legal. So alright, so there you go. Hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.